The research station hummed with quiet intensity, its transparent dome offering a breathtaking view of Europa's icy landscape. Jagged fractures of ice stretched beneath the surface, hinting at the vast ocean hidden below. Inside the facility, a team of scientists worked with a precision that bordered on obsession. Their eyes focused on data streams that would revolutionize humanity's understanding of the universe. Dr. Elena Rodriguez leaned closer to the holographic display, her fingers tracing intricate patterns of quantum fluctuations. Years of research had led to this moment, a discovery that challenged everything known about interstellar communication. The other researchers watched in hushed anticipation, knowing they stood on the precipice of something extraordinary. Outside the station, Jupiter's massive form dominated the skyline, its swirling storms a constant reminder of the cosmic forces that dwarfed human existence. Yet inside this small research facility, something remarkable was taking shape. The quantum communication array they had been developing was unlike anything previously conceived. Where traditional interstellar communication relied on radio waves and laser transmissions, this new system tapped into the fundamental fabric of quantum entanglement. The first test had been scheduled for months, but today felt different. Something in the data suggested they were about to break through a barrier that had limited human understanding for centuries. Elena's team represented the best of human innovation, a diverse group of scientists who had come together from every corner of the globe, united by an unquenchable curiosity about the universe. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen adjusted the quantum resonance calibrators, his hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. Beside him, Dr. Sophia Nakamura monitored the quantum entanglement matrix, her eyes darting between multiple holographic interfaces. They were an unlikely team, each brilliant in their own right, but together they represented something more than the sum of their individual talents. The station's communication officer suddenly straightened, a look of confusion crossing her face. "We're receiving an unexpected signal," she announced, her voice cutting through the ambient hum of scientific equipment. The room fell silent, every eye turning to the primary display. What appeared on the screen was not a typical transmission. It was a complex quantum signature that seemed to dance between states of existence, defying conventional understanding of information transfer. The signal carried a complexity that suggested intelligence, but not in any form they had ever encountered before. Elena's hand hovered over the primary console, her mind racing through potential explanations. This was more than an accidental transmission. It was a deliberate communication attempt that originated from somewhere beyond known space. The quantum pattern suggested a level of technological sophistication that made human communication technology look like primitive drumbeats. Outside, the icy landscape of Europa remained unchanged. Jupiter's massive form continued its eternal dance, indifferent to the potential breakthrough happening within the research station. But inside, a revolution was brewing, one that would challenge humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The team worked with increasing intensity, their initial excitement giving way to a focused determination. Every analysis, every calculation, brought them closer to understanding the mysterious transmission. It was clear now that this was not just a scientific discovery. It was a moment that would define humanity's future. As the hours passed, the true nature of the signal began to take shape. It was an invitation, a complex, multi-dimensional communication that suggested the existence of civilizations far more advanced than anything humans had imagined. The quantum patterns carried information that hinted at technologies beyond current human comprehension, technologies that could reshape understanding of physics, communication, and potentially the very nature of existence. Dr. Rodriguez exchanged a look with her colleagues. They all understood the significance of this moment. Humanity was about to take its first real step into a larger cosmic community. The research station on Europa, a small outpost on the frontier of human exploration, was about to become the most important location in human history. The quantum communication array continued to pulse, its complex patterns a symphony of potential and promise. Something extraordinary was coming, and humanity would never be the same. The global scientific community erupted into chaos within hours of the Europa research station's initial discovery. Governments, research institutions, and private corporations scrambled to understand the quantum communication signal that defied every known principle of interstellar transmission. What had begun as a quiet research project now threatened to rewrite the fundamental understanding of communication, physics, and humanity's place in the universe. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of a media storm, her modest research facility now surrounded by a military-grade security perimeter. Government representatives, scientific advisors, and intelligence officers cycled through makeshift briefing rooms, each desperate to comprehend the magnitude of the discovery. The quantum signal continued to pulse, a complex mathematical dance that seemed to mock traditional attempts at decryption. In a secure conference room deep beneath the research station, a team of the world's most brilliant minds worked around the clock. Dr. Marcus Chen had brought together a coalition of quantum physicists, cryptographers, linguists, and theoretical mathematicians. Their task was seemingly impossible: to decode a communication method that operated on principles completely unknown to human science. "It's not just a message," Dr. Sophia Nakamura explained to the assembled experts, her holographic presentation displaying intricate quantum wave patterns. "It's a communication system that exists simultaneously across multiple dimensional states. Traditional communication is linear. This is multidimensional, adaptive, alive." The implications were staggering. The quantum signal didn't just carry information, it seemed to be a form of intelligence itself. Each attempt to analyze the transmission revealed new layers of complexity. Where human communication relied on fixed symbols and linear logic, this signal adapted, transformed, and responded in ways that suggested a fundamental difference in cognitive processing. Military strategists grew increasingly nervous. What they saw as a potential first contact scenario, scientists viewed as a breakthrough in understanding consciousness and communication. The signal carried no obvious threat, but its very existence challenged every fundamental assumption about intelligence and information transfer. Breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Dr. Elena's team discovered that the quantum signal responded to specific mathematical probes, not with static information but with dynamic, evolving patterns. It was as if the communication itself was a living entity, learning and adapting with each interaction. "We're not just receiving a message," Marcus Chen noted during a critical briefing. "We're engaged in a conversation with something beyond our current understanding of intelligence." The global reaction was a mixture of excitement and fear. Some saw the potential for unprecedented scientific advancement, while others warned of potential existential threats. Religious leaders struggled to reconcile their understanding of existence with this new quantum revelation. Philosophers debated the nature of consciousness itself. Governments began allocating unprecedented resources to the research. The Europa facility transformed overnight from a modest research station to the most heavily protected scientific installation in human history. Quantum laboratories were established in research centers around the world, all working to unravel the mysteries of the transmission. Most fascinating was the signal's apparent responsiveness. Each mathematical probe, each carefully constructed quantum interaction seemed to generate a response that was simultaneously familiar and completely alien. It was as if the communication was teaching humanity an entirely new language of understanding. Dr. Nakamura's team made a breakthrough that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The quantum signal contained what appeared to be a form of technological blueprint, not just information, but a method of understanding technological development that transcended human linear thinking. It suggested ways of approaching scientific challenges that seemed to bypass traditional research methodologies. As weeks passed, the initial fear began to transform into something else, a collective sense of wonder. Humanity was being offered a glimpse into a method of communication and understanding that was fundamentally different from anything previously imagined. The quantum signal was not just a message from somewhere else. It was an invitation to reimagine the very nature of intelligence, communication, and existence. The research station on Europa had become more than a scientific facility. It was, now, the front line of humanity's greatest adventure, a portal to understanding that promised to reshape civilization itself. The quantum signal continued to pulse, a complex mathematical symphony of potential and promise. Something extraordinary was unfolding, and humanity was about to take its first steps into a larger, more complex universe. The Nexus Collective arrived without warning, their massive crystalline ships emerging from quantum fold spaces that previous scientific models had deemed impossible. Earth's orbital defense systems, upgraded with insights from the quantum communication breakthrough, hummed to life with an unprecedented level of preparedness. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the Global Communication Center as the first alien vessels took position around Earth's orbital zone. Unlike historical depictions of first contact, there were no dramatic weapon displays or immediate threats. Instead, the alien ships seemed to vibrate with a complex resonance that mirrored the quantum signals discovered on Europa. "They're communicating," Marcus Chen announced, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "But not through any method we've ever encountered before." The global population watched with a mixture of anticipation and tension. Years of scientific preparation had transformed humanity's approach to potential extraterrestrial encounters. Where previous generations might have responded with fear or aggressive posturing, this moment represented a calculated, intelligent engagement. The Nexus Collective's initial communication was nothing like anyone had expected. Instead of language or traditional signal transmissions, they presented a multidimensional information packet that was simultaneously a greeting, a cultural overview, and a complex mathematical dialogue. It was an invitation to understanding that transcended traditional communication barriers. Military strategists remained on high alert, but the scientific community recognized something extraordinary was unfolding. Dr. Sophia Nakamura led the initial response team, her expertise in quantum communication proving crucial. The alien transmission carried layers of information that seemed to adapt in real time, responding to humanity's attempts at interpretation. "They're not just sending a message," Nakamura explained during a global broadcast. "They're engaging in a dynamic, evolving conversation that changes based on our responses. It's less like communication and more like a collaborative understanding." The quantum communication breakthroughs from the Europa Research Station proved to be humanity's most significant advantage. Where other species might have approached first contact with fear or aggression, humans demonstrated an unprecedented ability to adapt, interpret, and engage with the unknown. Diplomatic teams worked around the clock, developing response protocols that went far beyond traditional diplomatic approaches. The communication was not just about exchanging information, but about establishing a fundamental framework of mutual understanding. Each transmission from the Nexus Collective revealed complex layers of their technological and cultural existence. Surprisingly, the aliens seemed as fascinated by humanity as humans were by them. Their transmissions carried an undertone of curiosity that suggested they had not encountered a species quite like humans before. The ability to rapidly adapt, to think creatively, and to approach challenges from multiple perspectives appeared to intrigue the Nexus Collective. Global unity emerged, in ways never before seen. National boundaries seemed to dissolve as humanity collectively engaged with the most significant moment in its history. Scientific institutions, previously competitive, now shared resources and insights with unprecedented cooperation. The first physical interaction came unexpectedly. A small quantum probe, generated by the Nexus Collective, materialized in a secure research facility. Unlike traditional mechanical probes, this object seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its very existence challenging understanding of physical matter. Dr. Chen's team discovered that the probe was more than a technological artifact. It was a form of communication, a physical representation of the complex quantum signals that had first been detected on Europa. Each attempt to study the probe revealed new layers of information, new ways of understanding technological development. "They're not just sharing technology," Chen noted during a critical briefing. "They're offering a method of technological and cultural exchange that goes beyond our current understanding of communication and development." The global research centers worked tirelessly to interpret and respond. The quantum communication breakthrough had prepared humanity for this moment, transforming what could have been a potentially destructive first contact into an opportunity for unprecedented growth and understanding. As days passed, it became clear that the Nexus Collective saw humanity not as a potential threat or resource, but as a unique and intriguing species. Their transmissions carried a sense of respect, of genuine curiosity about humanity's potential. The crystalline ships remained in orbit, a constant reminder of the extraordinary moment humanity was experiencing. Something fundamental was changing, not just in human scientific understanding, but in the very way humanity perceived its place in the universe. The first contact was not an end, but a beginning. Humanity stood on the precipice of a cosmic transformation, ready to engage with a universe far more complex and wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. The Global Research Initiative transformed warfare, exploration, and technological development in ways no one could have predicted. Where traditional military strategies relied on established doctrines, humanity's approach became something entirely new. A fluid, adaptive system that responded to challenges with unprecedented creativity. Dr. Marcus Chen's team at the Quantum Adaptation Research Center had developed a revolutionary interface that allowed human operators to interact with captured, alien technologies in ways that defied conventional understanding. Military strategists watched in awe as standard equipment was transformed into something entirely unprecedented. A captured Nexus collective quantum drive, which would have taken traditional research teams decades to understand, was reverse-engineered and partially integrated into human systems within weeks. The key was not brute force analysis, but a uniquely human approach of collaborative problem-solving that treated technological systems as living, evolving entities. Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez led the first Adaptive Response Unit, a team of scientists, engineers, and military personnel who represented the pinnacle of human potential. Their training went far beyond traditional military preparation. Each team member was not just a specialist, but a holistic problem solver capable of reimagining technological and strategic challenges in real time. The first major test came during a simulated conflict scenario with a captured Nexus Collective tactical system. Where previous approaches would have attempted to replicate alien technology exactly, the human team did something entirely unexpected. They began to modify the system, introducing elements of human creativity that transformed the technological platform into something entirely new. "We're not trying to copy their technology," Chen explained during a critical briefing. "We're engaging in a form of technological dialogue. Each adaptation is a conversation, not a replication." The Nexus Collective observed these developments with increasing fascination. Human technological adaptation occurred at a rate that defied their existing models of species development. Where other civilizations would take centuries to integrate new technological concepts, humans were creating breakthrough innovations in weeks. Military technology became a fluid, adaptive system. Spacecraft were no longer simply machines, but living extensions of human potential. Each vessel contained adaptive interfaces that could reconfigure themselves based on mission parameters, environmental challenges, and real-time strategic needs. Dr. Sophia Nakamura's quantum interface team made a breakthrough that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. They discovered a method of technological communication that went beyond traditional programming. The new interfaces could learn, adapt, and evolve in real time, blurring the lines between biological and technological systems. The global defense network transformed from a static system of protection to a dynamic, responsive organism. Satellite networks could reconfigure themselves instantaneously. Defensive systems could predict and counteract potential threats before they fully materialized. It was as if humanity had discovered a method of technological thinking that was simultaneously more intuitive and more sophisticated than any previously known approach. Captured alien technologies became windows into new methods of understanding. The Nexus Collective's quantum drives were not just reverse-engineered but reimagined. Human engineers found ways to integrate alien technological principles with human creativity, creating hybrid systems that were more advanced than their original designs. Training programs for military and scientific personnel underwent a complete revolution. The new approach emphasized adaptive thinking, creative problem-solving, and the ability to approach challenges from multiple perspectives. Traditional hierarchical structures gave way to more fluid, collaborative models of operation. The adaptive revolution was not just technological, it was philosophical. Humanity was demonstrating an ability to engage with the unknown that went far beyond traditional scientific or military approaches. Each challenge became an opportunity for growth. Each technological encounter a chance to reimagine existing understanding. Global research centers worked in unprecedented collaboration. National boundaries became increasingly irrelevant as humanity collectively engaged with the technological challenges presented by the Nexus Collective. The competitive models of previous technological development were replaced by a more collaborative, adaptive approach. As months passed, it became clear that humanity's greatest strength was not any single technological breakthrough, but the ability to approach challenges with a unique combination of creativity, adaptability, and collaborative potential. The Nexus Collective watched with growing respect as humans transformed every technological interaction into an opportunity for unprecedented innovation. The adaptive revolution had begun. Humanity was no longer just responding to technological challenges. They were redefining the very nature of technological development and species potential. The research facility in low Earth orbit represented humanity's most ambitious technological experiment. Suspended against the backdrop of infinite darkness, the station pulsed with a living energy that blurred the lines between biological intelligence and technological systems. Dr. Marcus Chen and his team had created something unprecedented, a true symbiotic interface between human consciousness and advanced technological platforms. Spacecraft were no longer simply machines. They had become living extensions of their crews, responsive organisms that adapted with an almost intuitive understanding. The neural interfaces developed by human engineers allowed pilots and scientific teams to communicate with their vessels in ways that went far beyond traditional technological control. Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez sat in the primary interface chamber, her consciousness merging with the experimental deep space exploration vessel. The boundary between human and machine dissolved, creating a unified system of unprecedented capability. Her thoughts moved through the ship's systems like electrical impulses, each neural connection revealing new layers of technological potential. The Nexus Collective observed these developments with growing fascination. No species they had encountered in thousands of years of galactic exploration had demonstrated such a profound ability to integrate technological systems with biological consciousness. Humanity was not just using technology, they were becoming one with it. Dr. Sophia Nakamura's breakthrough in quantum neural networking had made this possible. The interfaces she developed were not mechanical attachments, but living bridges between human consciousness and technological systems. Each connection created a feedback loop of extraordinary complexity, allowing for instantaneous adaptation and problem-solving. During the Mars colonization mission, the true potential of this technological symbiosis became apparent. When a massive solar radiation storm threatened the mission, the human-machine interface allowed for adaptations that would have been impossible with traditional technological systems. The spacecraft literally reshaped its own protective systems in real time, guided by the combined intelligence of its human crew. Global research centers worked tirelessly to understand and expand these capabilities. The technological symbiosis was not just a military or exploratory tool. It represented a fundamental reimagining of the relationship between biological and technological systems. Schools began developing new educational approaches that prepared humans to think beyond traditional technological interactions. The psychological implications were profound. Crew members reported a sense of expanded consciousness, an ability to perceive and interact with technological systems in ways that transcended traditional understanding. It was as if humanity was developing an entirely new form of intelligence, one that was simultaneously technological and deeply human. Captured Nexus Collective technologies became laboratories of innovation. Where previous approaches would have attempted to simply replicate alien systems, human researchers found ways to create hybrid technologies that combined the best of both species' technological approaches. Each interaction became a dialogue, a collaborative process of mutual understanding. Military strategists recognized the revolutionary potential of this technological symbiosis. Traditional concepts of warfare became obsolete. A single human-machine interface could adapt more quickly and creatively than entire fleets of traditional technological systems. The line between defensive and offensive capabilities became fluid, responsive, and incredibly complex. The deep space exploration vessels became living proof of humanity's technological potential. Each mission pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible. Spacecraft could now respond to environmental challenges with a level of intuition that bordered on consciousness. They were no longer simply tools but partners in exploration. Psychological research revealed unexpected benefits. The neural interfaces seemed to enhance human cognitive capabilities, creating a feedback loop of intelligence that expanded human potential. Crew members reported enhanced problem-solving abilities, increased empathy, and a profound sense of connection to both technological systems and their fellow humans. The Nexus Collective's initial assessment of humanity as a primitive species was completely dismantled. What they witnessed was a species capable of reimagining the very nature of intelligence and technological development. Humanity was not just adapting to technological challenges, they were creating an entirely new paradigm of existence. As the experimental station continued its orbit, the Earth below seemed to pulse with a new potential. Humanity stood at the precipice of a technological transformation that would reshape understanding of consciousness, intelligence, and the relationship between biological and technological systems. The symbiosis was more than a technological breakthrough. It was the beginning of a new chapter in human evolution, a journey into a future where the boundaries between human and machine would become wonderfully, impossibly blurred. The Global Conference Center in New Geneva became the epicenter of humanity's most profound intellectual challenge. Diplomats, philosophers, scientists, and cultural leaders from every corner of the planet gathered to address the most critical moment in human history, the philosophical confrontation with the Nexus Collective. Dr. Marcus Chen stood at the center of the primary chamber, his presentation revealing layers of human potential that went far beyond technological capability. The Nexus Collective listened through their quantum communication interface, their multidimensional consciousness absorbing every nuance of human philosophical thought. "We are not defined by our technologies," Chen explained, his words translated across multiple dimensional communication bands. "We are defined by our capacity for growth, for reimagining our own potential. Our strength lies not in what we are, but in what we can become." The human delegation had prepared for years, understanding that this encounter was more than a diplomatic meeting. It was a battle of philosophical paradigms, a confrontation of fundamentally different approaches to existence, consciousness, and potential. Dr. Sophia Nakamura presented a comprehensive overview of human cultural development. Where the Nexus Collective saw civilization as a fixed, predictable system, humans demonstrated an ability to constantly reinvent themselves. Each challenge was an opportunity for growth. Each limitation, a chance to expand understanding. The alien representatives processed this information with a complexity that defied traditional communication. Their multidimensional consciousness struggled to comprehend a species that seemed to thrive on uncertainty, that viewed change not as a threat, but as the most fundamental expression of existence. Global communication networks broadcast the conference, allowing billions to witness humanity's most important philosophical dialogue. Schools, research centers, and cultural institutions watched with collective anticipation. This was more than a diplomatic encounter. It was a redefinition of what it meant to be an intelligent species. Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez represented the military perspective, but her presentation was anything but traditional. She demonstrated how human approach to conflict was not about destruction, but about transformation. Military strategy became a form of communication, a method of understanding that went beyond traditional concepts of warfare. The Nexus Collective's historical record showed centuries of galactic interactions where species were categorized, controlled, or eliminated. Humanity presented a radical alternative, a vision of existence based on mutual growth, collaborative potential, and continuous reinvention. Philosophical teams had spent years preparing for this moment. They drew from every human cultural tradition, presenting a holistic view of existence that challenged the Nexus Collective's rigid understanding of civilization. Indigenous wisdom stood alongside scientific theory, artistic expression complemented mathematical precision. We do not seek to conquer, Elena explained during a critical moment of the conference. We seek to understand. Our greatest strength is our ability to see potential where others see limitation. The communication became increasingly complex. The Nexus Collective began to understand that human consciousness was not a fixed system, but a dynamic, evolving network. Each human interaction carried the potential for fundamental transformation, each moment an opportunity for growth. Cultural leaders presented humanity's greatest achievements, not as technological milestones, but as expressions of collective imagination. Art, music, literature, and scientific breakthroughs were presented as evidence of a species defined by its capacity for creative thinking. The conference transformed from a diplomatic meeting to a profound exploration of consciousness itself. Humanity was offering the Nexus Collective something unprecedented, a new way of understanding existence that was fluid, adaptive, and filled with infinite potential. As hours turned into days, the alien representatives began to comprehend something revolutionary. Humanity was not a species to be categorized or controlled. They were a dynamic system of potential, a living expression of continuous transformation. The philosophical battlefield was not about winning or losing. It was about expanding the very understanding of what intelligence could be. Humanity presented itself not as a completed civilization, but as a continuous journey of discovery. In the vast conference chamber, against the backdrop of human and alien consciousness, a new understanding began to emerge. Something extraordinary was taking shape, a potential for collaboration that went beyond any previous galactic interaction. The conversation was just beginning, and humanity was ready to reimagine everything. The research facility on the lunar surface hummed with an energy that defied traditional understanding of scientific exploration. Dr. Marcus Chen's team had discovered something extraordinary, a method of communication that went beyond language, beyond technology, into the realm of pure understanding. The quantum resonance matrix they had developed was more than a scientific instrument. It was a bridge between consciousness, a way of translating the fundamental patterns of different intelligent systems. Where previous attempts at interspecies communication had failed, this approach promised something revolutionary. Dr. Sophia Nakamura monitored the primary interface, her hands moving across holographic displays that shifted and changed with each quantum interaction. The Nexus Collective's communication patterns were no longer seen as alien or incomprehensible. They were becoming a complex language of potential, a dialogue of consciousness that transcended traditional barriers. Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez led the adaptive response team, their training going far beyond traditional military preparation. Each team member was a specialist in cross-cultural communication, quantum interpretation, and adaptive problem-solving. They were not just interpreting alien communication, they were creating a new framework of mutual understanding. The transformation began subtly. What had started as a potential conflict became a profound exploration of consciousness. The quantum resonance matrix allowed for a level of communication that went beyond words or technological exchanges. It was a direct interface of potential, a way of understanding that revealed the fundamental similarities between seemingly different intelligent systems. Captured Nexus Collective technologies were no longer simply studied, they were engaged with. Each technological artifact became a conversation, a collaborative process of mutual understanding. The research teams discovered that the alien technologies carried within them not just mechanical information, but complex cultural and philosophical narratives. Global research centers worked in unprecedented collaboration. The initial fear and tension of first contact had transformed into a collective pursuit of understanding. Universities, research institutions, and scientific teams from every corner of the planet shared insights, creating a global network of exploration that defied traditional scientific boundaries. The psychological breakthrough came unexpectedly. The quantum resonance matrix revealed that conflict was not a fundamental state of interaction, but a result of limited understanding. The Nexus Collective's historical approach of categorization and control began to dissolve as they experienced humanity's approach of collaborative potential. Military strategists watched in awe as traditional concepts of conflict resolution became obsolete. The adaptive response teams demonstrated that true communication was more powerful than any weapon system. Each interaction became an opportunity for mutual growth, each potential point of conflict a chance for deeper understanding. The Lunar Research Facility became a beacon of hope. Representatives from the Nexus Collective began to arrive, not as conquerors or diplomatic envoys, but as collaborative partners. The quantum resonance matrix allowed for a level of communication that went beyond language, revealing the fundamental similarities between different forms of intelligent life. Cultural exchange programs emerged, creating unprecedented opportunities for mutual understanding. Human researchers learned to perceive reality through the multidimensional consciousness of the Nexus Collective. In turn, the alien species began to understand the unique human capacity for creativity, adaptation, and continuous growth. Dr. Chen's team made a breakthrough that would reshape understanding of interspecies communication. They discovered that consciousness was not a fixed state, but a dynamic, adaptive system. The quantum resonance matrix became a tool for mutual transformation, a way of understanding that went beyond traditional scientific or diplomatic approaches. The initial fear of conflict dissolved into a profound sense of possibility. What had begun as a potential confrontation became a collaborative journey of discovery. The Nexus Collective began to see humanity not as a species to be categorized or controlled, but as a unique expression of cosmic potential. Diplomatic interactions transformed. Traditional negotiations gave way to collaborative exploration, to a shared pursuit of understanding that went beyond any previous model of interspecies communication. Each interaction revealed new layers of potential, new ways of perceiving existence. As the lunar facility continued its work, the Earth below seemed to pulse with a new understanding. Humanity had not just survived a potential conflict, they had discovered a new way of existing in the universe. The transformation was complete, but the journey was just beginning. The quantum resonance matrix continued to pulse, a living bridge between different forms of consciousness. Something extraordinary was taking shape, a potential for collaboration that would reshape understanding of intelligence itself. The Global Reconstruction Center in New Geneva stood as a testament to humanity's most ambitious project. What had begun as a first contact scenario had transformed into a fundamental reimagining of galactic civilization. Dr. Marcus Chen stood at the center of a massive holographic display, watching as centuries of oppressive galactic structures began to dissolve. The Nexus Collective's historical records revealed a civilization that had maintained control through rigid hierarchical systems, suppressing the potential of countless species across multiple star systems. Humanity offered an alternative, a model of civilization based on collaborative potential, individual agency, and continuous growth. Dr. Sophia Nakamura's team had developed a revolutionary network infrastructure that allowed subjugated species to connect, share resources, and develop their unique potential. It was more than a technological system. It was a living network of possibility, a way of reimagining collective existence that went beyond traditional concepts of governance. Lieutenant Elena Rodriguez led the diplomatic corps responsible for supporting newly liberated civilizations. Each team was composed of experts in cultural adaptation, technological development, and collaborative problem-solving. They didn't come as saviors or conquerors, but as partners in a collective journey of discovery. The galactic reconfiguration happened faster than anyone could have predicted. Species that had been oppressed for millennia found themselves with unprecedented opportunities for growth. The rigid control systems of the Nexus Collective began to crumble, replaced by a more fluid, adaptive approach to civilization. Research centers emerged on planets that had previously been nothing more than resource extraction sites. Educational networks connected species that had never before been allowed to communicate directly. Each new connection revealed layers of potential that had been suppressed for generations. The technological exchanges were unprecedented. Instead of a top-down approach to development, a collaborative model emerged. Species shared insights, technological innovations, and cultural knowledge in ways that transformed understanding of collective intelligence. Captured Nexus. Collective technologies became tools of liberation. Research teams worked to adapt these systems, removing control mechanisms and transforming them into platforms for collective growth. Each technological artifact became a lesson in the potential for transformation. The psychological impact was profound. Species that had existed under oppressive systems began to understand their own potential. Educational networks revealed histories that had been deliberately suppressed. Cultural traditions that had been forced into hiding emerged with newfound vibrancy. Global communication networks expanded beyond Earth, creating a living, adaptive system of interstellar communication. The quantum resonance matrix developed by human researchers became a fundamental tool for mutual understanding, a way of connecting consciousness across vast distances. Diplomatic strategies transformed. Traditional concepts of negotiation gave way to collaborative problem-solving. Each interaction became an opportunity for mutual growth, each potential conflict a chance for deeper understanding. The economic systems that emerged were radically different from previous galactic models. Resource distribution became a collaborative process, with each species contributing their unique capabilities. The focus shifted from extraction to collective development, from competition to collaborative potential. Dr. Chen's team continued to develop adaptive communication technologies that allowed for unprecedented levels of cultural exchange. The quantum resonance matrix became a living bridge between different forms of intelligence, a way of understanding that transcended traditional communication barriers. As years passed, the transformation became complete. The rigid, hierarchical structure of the Nexus Collective dissolved, replaced by a network of collaborative potential. Species that had been isolated for millennia found themselves part of a living, adaptive galactic community. The human approach to civilization had proven something extraordinary. Potential was not something to be controlled or suppressed, but a dynamic, continuously evolving system of collective growth. From the research centers on Earth to the furthest reaches of explored space, a new understanding was taking shape. Civilization was not a fixed state, but a continuous journey of discovery. The holographic display in the New Geneva Center continued to pulse with life, showing a galaxy transformed. Humanity had not conquered. They had opened a door to a new way of existing. Something extraordinary had happened, and the journey was just beginning.